all learned. अच्छा पहले हिंदी English, what is more comfortable to all of you? English? अब आप डिसाइड कर लीजिए भारतीय सिनेमा का भविष्य अंग्रेजी में बात करवाते हैं और हिंदी सिनेमा की बढ़ोतरी चाहते हैं, आपको सोचेंगे. I know. So for the global audience, I'll speak in English. I understand that, but I am little against even IFFI and all which represent Indian cinema, Hindi cinema, Filmfare, national awards. Everything is done in English, so if fundamentally we won't change, we will never change. And I personally believe that if the middle class is interested only in sending their children to convent and then to Google in America, how will he change India? I don't think Bharat can ever change. I'm sorry. With this criticism, I am going to start this thing. Thank you everybody, Manniya Datta ji, Vipul ji, Abhishek ji, and all very learned and respected people, some very dear to me, and a lot of people I look up to. So I'm speaking with mixed feelings, and I'll speak quickly. 1 second. First, I just want to thank all of you. For any filmmaker, nothing can be more alokik than seeing a house full, so it's a house full. Thank you very much. I consider myself as a storyteller, not as a filmmaker, because I had a very experience. I was in advertising, I was in communications, I'm a student of mass media and communication, and I've done documentaries, ad films, all kinds of things, television for a very long time. That's why I call Vipul my senior. And feature films. Besides that, I also run a podcast, YouTube channel. I give speeches at least 15, 20 days in a month, and from here I'm directly going to Pune to give a speech, then to Goa. So I do a lot of work where I'm interacting with a lot of people, and I ensure that I talk to a lot of middle class Bharatiya families, and so therefore I understand a little bit about them. But how this journey started? I used to be a very comfortable, making lots of money in the glamour world of Bollywood, making star-based films, because I am not a trained filmmaker. I never went to a school, college of filmmaking. I never assisted anyone. And by accident, I got into filmmaking. So I also, like any young boy, was into glamour world. Aha, dekho stars ke saath kar rahe hain, film business and all those things. It so happened, a young boy, he was my assistant. And the story is about 2008 or 2009, I think. हम लोग गाड़ी में जा रहे थे, and there was a song which was playing, सजन रे झूठ ना बोलो, खुदा के पास जाना है. And he was a non-English speaking boy from UP. So he asked me one thing which I had never ever, despite being a son of Sanskrit scholars and freedom fighters, it never occurred to me before that. And so that's why I want you to consider this. So he said, sir, ye sajan re jhoot mat bolo, khuda ke paas jana hai. Hiraman, who's a Hindu of UP, who's riding a बैलगाड़ी, जो बैलगाड़ी चला रहा है, वो खुदा के पास क्यों जाना चाहता है? And please, it's a very serious thing I'm talking about. And it was written by Shailendra ji. Okay, one of the greatest writers and lyricists of Indian history. इतने महान की महान से महान शायर और writers उनको अपना गुरु मानते हैं. And very devoted, भारतीय, simple, middle class person. खुदा के पास क्यों जाना है? तो मैंने कहा यार ये ठीक है यार, because हम थोड़े लिबरल टाइप के लोग हैं, हिंदू हैं, हम तो कुछ भी हमें चलता है. कहते नहीं सर, बट इन माय विलेज whenever this song plays, then my friends say, how can Hiraman go to Khuda? वो तो मुस्लिम नहीं है. And this is a dilemma. This is a paradoxical situation. I take a lot of pride in Hindu philosophy. I think it's the greatest of the minds, greatest of the philosophy. And that made me wonder, a society which invented the entire Natya Shastra, undisputedly. You can dispute whether Mahabharat was 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 1,000 years, but the first scientific, the art and science of dramatic arts was written here in Bharat, called Natya Shastra. Without Natya Shastra, you can't even see Netflix and all these things munching your chips. And this nation has reached a situation where communists, because the film industry was started first by Parsi theatre and then the the entire IPTA, the communists, the leftists, and all these people who always were anti-Sanskritic about Hindu thought. So these people somewhere, जैसे आप अगर if somebody has gone to Rajasthan, all these female labor, what they do is, so that their young child, 1 year, 2-year-old child does not disturb them, उसको थोड़ा सा अफीम चटा देते हैं ज़रा सा. And it's a very common practice. And by the time that child is 15, 16 years old, he's not even aware that he's doing something which is not good for him. Similarly, generations after generations, we have been told that ठीक है, हम तो liberal हैं, तो भूल जाओ. And somewhere, nobody told us what is called Shatru Bodh. Who are you fighting? Who's the villain in this big narrative? And today the tragedy of Indian cinema is, in my mind, tragedy of Indian cinema definitely is how the narratives are built, but biggest tragedy of Indian cinema is that today there is no common man in Hindi cinema. Because there is no villain in Hindi cinema. We have thrown the common man out. आप सारी फिल्में अगर इंडियन सिनेमा को आप देखना चाहते हैं, I have lots of speeches where I have spoken about, you study the villains of Indian cinema and you'll understand how the society has evolved. The hero of Indian cinema always used to be son of a middle class person. या तो किसान का बेटा होगा, टीचर का बेटा होगा, lawyer का होगा, but he was never ever was the privileged class of this society. But in today's cinema, the student of the year is not a student. He is walking a ramp. Mothers are not like Indian mothers. Fathers are not like Indian fathers. And my biggest complaint with Hindi cinema is, yes, at I Am Buddha, we are trying to create a soft power for India without anybody telling us on our own. But the biggest problem is, if today you have to come to Thailand, if you go to Japan or China or Poland or Israel, pick up their 5 mainstream films. Mainstream, I'm saying. 5 mainstream films. You will know something about their architecture, something about their food, lifestyle, relationships between family, how their young people look. If somebody has to come to India or Bharat and picks up 5 latest films, Jawan, Pathan, etc., जो भी 5-6 फिल्में हैं, या पुरानी फिल्में ले लीजिए आप, post 2000, what will they learn? They learn everything about New York and London. They will learn nothing about Bharat, not even the houses of Bharat. तो सजन रे झूठ ना बोलो, खुदा के पास जाना है. That became my motivation. And I said, okay, we cannot fight with the world, but I can do what is my competence, what I can do best. And with that purpose, in 2010, I resigned from Bollywood, and we started an independent journey. And in the next 2-3 minutes, I'll tell you what that journey has been and our contribution to cinema, so that any young boy or girl who is listening to what I'm saying, they will understand how to disrupt cinema with a strategic mind and tactics. You just cannot just say कि अच्छा आज तो मैं करता हूँ और मैं तो चलो हिंदुओं का झंडा गाड़ता हूँ, मैं तो राम और कृष्ण पे बना देता हूँ. That's not how you create soft power. So the first thing we did was our universities were suffering from, they were infested with a communist ideology which was converting the fundamental जो मौलिक विचार है भारतीय सभ्यता का, they were destroying that. And the reason being that it was making our minds colonized. And मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ, एक यंग लड़के लड़की का भारत में 10-20 साल तो सिर्फ अंग्रेजी से लड़ाई लड़ते हुए निकल जाता है. So with that mindset, we did research and made a film. For the first time, we raised the question on urban naxalism, and we made Buddha in a Traffic Jam. That film was selected in India Gold category in MAMI. Despite that, it won so many international awards. Despite that, that film was stuck for 6 years. But we kept fighting every single day. Finally, it was not released anywhere, and I took it to universities. And from there, it became a cult film. Then we wrote a book called Urban Naxals, and you know it's a jargon which from Prime Minister to Justice, and everybody uses that. It made the middle class families aware that their children are in danger of getting indoctrinated in universities, and don't think just because somebody is a professor, it means that he is actually God. हमारे कहते हैं अगर टीचर खड़ा हो, गुरु खड़ा हो और माँ बाप खड़े हो, किसके पहले पहुँचने चाहिए? And luck favored me that as soon as the film finally released, and Professor Sai Baba was arrested for Naxalism. So and then Tukle Tukle scenario happened in JNU. After that, I remember in 2018, in World Hindu Congress in Chicago, I announced that I'm going to make a trilogy on India's democracy. Number 1 would be right to truth, second would be right to justice, third would be right to life. So we have finished 2 films. You know what Tashkent Files did. It opened up the ecosystem, corrupt ecosystem of last 70 years. Then Kashmir Files, a lot of people think Kashmir Files work because we have shown the tragedy and victimization of Hindus. Yes, you are right. But let me also make you aware, it also worked very strongly because of that 15-minute speech in the end, which makes you proud in your culture and civilization. You cannot change the face of cinema without making the young people proud, a cultural proud, a civilizational pride, which America takes in their liberty and freedom, and they champion democracy. All these actually were invented by Bharatiya philosophy. The entire concept of Ganatantra, the concept of inclusiveness. I was just telling somebody today that in Hindi and Sanskrit there is no translation of exclusion. There is no translation of divorce. वही तो सनातन है. एक बार रिश्ते बनते हैं तो एक सनातन है. So that we did, and then we said we cannot keep bringing bad news to everybody, so we also made something which for generations after generations, younger people will feel very proud, called The Vaccine War. It released on Hotstar day before, and I am told by Hotstar and Disney that it's perhaps the most viewed film in 24 hours ever. Then we are making the last of the trilogy called the Delhi Files. Just to give you a little a brief on the film, though I can't disclose everything, पर एक नंद कुमार जी हैं, उन्होंने मुझे काफ़ी पहले बोला था कि come to Kerala and do some research, and it's a subject to be told. So we started researching Mopla. Not people in Malabar also don't know much about it, unfortunately. But then I said, what is the reason whatever happened in Mopla 100 years ago, when Gandhiji gave legal sanction to Khilafat movement? The same slogans, same tactic, same strategy, same kind of communal conflicts, and same kind of ideological cover-up of all those things happens even now. During Delhi riots in 2020, the same slogans. Nand Kumarji showed me in Aligarh Muslim University, there was a conference, there's a banner which says Khilafat 2.0, and I have been to Shaheen Bagh during CA this thing. Openly they had, Khilafat word was written everywhere. How in a democratic country, which is the world's oldest civilization, tell me something, how the word kafir be allowed legally in this country? How can anybody say Sartan se juda in 2023 and get away with it? How is it possible? मुझे कई बार शर्म आती है सोच के. As a storyteller, how is it possible that in 2023 kafir and Sartan se juda is got social approval? Nobody raises, politicians will never raise this issue, except for election rallies. And people who have been giving their lives for last 100 years, they work so underground that nobody will hear it. So I took upon this thing. Abhi mere naam 3 fatwe and I am ready for 30 more. But Delhi Files for me is the most important film of my life, because today if the world is talking about, I'm sorry, they told me to take 5 minutes extra, that's why I'm taking. I was told by Vikramji. So, आप ये देखिए, the whole world today, when it comes to Israel and Palestine, look at the hypocrisy of the world. They are talking about globalized world. They are saying that everybody has to be involved in this because we live in one global village. And therefore, everybody should comment and they should act on this. Kashmir के वक्त नहीं कहते थे ये कि it's a global world. Today they are saying, okay, so it's a globalized world. then I have a question to ask. Which in the history of humanity, in the history of human race, which is the longest continuous genocide of human beings? 1,000 years, 1,000 years of destruction, 1,000 years, and not just by Islam, by Christianity also. For 1,000 years we have been persecuted. Every 1 kilometer of India you go, you'll find some kind of ruin. They did not destroy these things. They ruined it so that you remember that this happened with you and we can do it. And in that context, I think the world must know that we are the most persecuted, victimized society in the world, and therefore, and we are very young. We are just 75 years old. So therefore, why do they say that blacks, we should look with compassion? Because of slavery? But slavery was abolished almost 60, 70 years ago. They say, look at, please, Islamic world with little empathy and compassion, because they have suffered a lot from Christians and Jews, and also after 2011, they have been defamed all over the world, so Islamophobia is a religious. We are 75 years ago, we got our freedom from slavery and persecutions and genocides. Have you ever seen pictures of Direct Action Day? Taken by Time and New York Times. But these stories are not told because everybody is telling me every day, please, after Kashmir, don't make Delhi files, they will definitely destroy you, kill you. But somebody has to do it. And therefore, I am doing it, and that's why I want young people to know that if you have to disrupt, you cannot disrupt just by calling boycott Bollywood. You just cannot. You have to draw a bigger line and a better line and a consistent and Sanatan line. In the end, I just want to tell you just two very important things. I have also announced that we are making Mahabharat called Parv, based on Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's, inspired from Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's novel. And the reason I am doing that is because since I am born, there's a debate whether Mahabharat is mythology or is it history. The evidences say it's history, but the intellectual narrative by the leftists says that it's mythology. I promise you it will take some time, 4 or 5 years. If Ma Saraswati blesses me, I'll be able to finish that project in this lifetime. If I do that, I can promise you after that this question will be erased. Nobody will say that. It is history. And in the end, and I would like to conclude taking Vipulji's thought little further. The responsibility of changing society is obviously on thought leaders, political leaders, religious leaders. But it cannot be only that is their responsibility. As storytellers, what can we do? A lot of people say, Vivek ji, वो कश्मीर में आप लोगों को स्थापित क्यों नहीं कर देते हैं? मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ. कहते हैं उनकी पेंशन में आप क्यों नहीं कर देते हैं? मोदी जी को एक फ़ोन लगाइए, बोलिए पेंशन देते हैं. मैं नहीं कर सकता हूँ. लेकिन मैं अवेयरनेस क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ. We can change attitudes. पर जिम्मेदारी आपकी भी है. It's a give and take relationship. दो चीजें. If you want to change cinema, take a pledge right now, not tomorrow, that after today, आपको लगता है गाने अच्छे नहीं हैं, डांसेस अच्छे नहीं हैं, अश्लीलता बढ़ती जा रही है, तो अपने बच्चों के जन्मदिन में, शादियों में क्यों बजाते हैं वो गाने? You have stopped listening to music. I was reading a report, a very important report, a few days ago. It was sent to me by one of the very renowned classical dancer of this country. And the report says that Indian children are the least current, मतलब जो कान में सुर समझते हैं, कर्ण सुर जिसको बोलते हैं. हमारे बच्चों को आज सुर की नॉलेज ही नहीं है. क्योंकि आप सुनाते ही नहीं है. तो जब आप ही नहीं उनको बताएंगे, when was the last time आपने किसी ने अपने बच्चे को बैठाल के इंडियन स्टोरीज बताई हो, भारत की कहानियां बताई हो, अपने मोहल्ले गांव की कहानियां बताई हो? So responsibility is yours. No Vipul Shah or Abhishek Agrawal or Vivek Agnihotri should suffer financial losses. Why? Then this movement will end. ये मूवमेंट खत्म हो जाएगा, मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, 1-2 फिल्में नहीं चली तो बस उसके बाद लोग बातें करेंगे। सो आप लोगों का भी सहयोग चाहिए, विदाउट यू नथिंग कैन हैपन। Please make sure that these films for next 5 years at least, until an ecosystem is created, are seen by maximum number of people, become brand ambassador of this new age Bharatiya cinema. Let's make Bharatiya cinema the soft power of Bharat. और अब तो भारत का टाइम चल रहा है, तो हम लोगों को अपने बारे में अच्छी बातें करनी चाहिए। Thank you very much.